in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. What time is it? Game time.
What's that? Playoffs? What are you talking about? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
I hope we can win a game too, and I am so excited to be back with you. This is Moose Bingham with the Utah Preps Podcast. And do we have an exciting episode for you today? We're talking about offers, we're talking about commitments, and we have the top running back in the state will be revealed today. I am so excited to be with you and so excited to be a part of this journey with you on this beautiful day. So before we get started, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. We're talking about recruiting for parents. That's recruitingforparents.com. They're our main sponsor of the week, using the 4 E's: education, envision, execute, and evaluate. This online course helps parents understand the recruiting game so their kids can be on the path to secure the most valuable scholarship possible. We are proud today of our new sponsor that's helped hundreds of families already and saved them thousands. To learn more, go to recruitingforparents.com and get yourself a copy today. One of the best programs in the world for the best people in the world. That's you guys in the state of Utah. So like I said, we're going to be having offers. We're going to be having commitments. And then we're going to have a special guest stop by. So let's start with commitments. Brock Harris committed to the Polynesian All-American game. That is so cool. We're getting guys in the class of 2025 committing, or 2026 committing to the 2025 All-American games. So what that tells me is if you want to go to an All-American game, you better be starting as a sophomore at the very least and be dominant, because a lot of these guys that were sophomores last year are getting invited as going into their junior year, getting invited to play in All-American games. So the recruiting process, because it's gotten closer, because the signing day has gotten earlier, we're going to see a lot of guys committing earlier and not going to those All-American games for their senior year, and we're seeing the adjustment period happening now. So for offers, Kai Meza got an offer to Utah, the speedster from Corner Canyon. Iverson Report got an offer to Snow. Jerome Myles, the absolute dog, got an offer to UCLA, and congrats on the 10,500. Jett Niu got an Arizona offer. That's a big-time offer for a big-time human being. Jordan Vyborny got an ASU, a Cal, an Arizona, a Wisconsin, and a Kansas. Wyatt Orton, the big man from Kanab, got an SUU offer. Cuevas Gregory got an Army, one of the running backs we'll be talking about today. Esun Taufa got an SDSU. Tenny got a Pitt. Nick Hallock got an Idaho State and an Eastern Washington. We're going to see his recruiting just start to soar to the sky. Jett Niu also got a Penn. Vaea ikakoula got in Dartmouth. Paxton Naegal got a Cornel, so 2 smart human beings right there. Jerome Myles also got a Michigan State. Go green, go white. Daniel Beckstead got a Utah Tech, the phenomenal defensive lineman from Timpview. His older brother was a running back, and we'll be talking more about running backs today. Brock Harris got an Arkansas, an Ohio State, and a University of Colorado, the Fighting Deons. I love to see that. Kai Westley, the big tight end from Orem, got a BYU offer, as did Lopiti Moala. Jaron Pula got a UCLA, so if Jaron got an offer, I guarantee you Keenan got one, and alas, Keenan did get one as well. The twins do everything together. Tony Mealor got a Utah State offer. Darius Afalava went down to Oklahoma, and you know he wasn't walking out of that building without an offer. Congratulations, Darius Afalava. Will Rasmussen, the Orem running back, was at Timpview last year. He got an offer to Utah. The running back, he's got the first P4 offer of his class at that position, but it may be at corner. Utah has a ability to switch running backs to corner because they love these running backs' athletic ability, their hips, and their ability to react. So I love that. Tenny also got a Georgia State. And then finally, Braxton Young from the class of 2024, the School of Corner Canyon, got an SUU offer. Congratulations, all you guys. That is freaking amazing. So to go along with that, we'll have our special guest at the end of this episode, but we've got to talk about running backs today. So I feel like a moose that went in hibernation. After November, I got a little sad. I went on a trip to Japan. I really focused and got some chi back to me. And with that, I was like, okay, football's coming around. Then the winter hit me. I was like, no, I'm going to hurry and go into my hole and hide away for a little bit. And then I felt like the groundhog on Groundhog's Day, peeking out, seeing that there was 6 more weeks of winter. But I was like, I can start the Utah Preps podcast. I can get excited about things coming up. But now, after the sun's come out, my guns came out, and I am excited for the rest of this year. So I am going to be going into my ratings. I'm going to be letting you guys know what's up, who's who, and what colleges should be looking at you. This is Moose's List.
What time is it? Game time.
It is game time when it comes to my list. So with that, you guys need to understand the rules. Once again, I will explain them each and every episode because I have parents come at me. They're like, well, my kid rushed for 10,000 yards. And I'm like, okay, cool. My kid did this. Okay, neat. Who did he do it against? What was the circumstances? Because if you're a lower level kid, I expect you to be able to go against Lone Peak, Corner Canyon, Bingham, American Fork, and do the same things you were doing to the lower level schools. And that's how colleges, recruiters look at it. Can he do this against the best competition? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. Also, with that, we look at, there's 12 different factors for each position that I look at. Everything from height and weight to athletic ability to knowledge, mastery of the game, and everything in between. So with that, understand, we have to understand where you guys are. And there's certain things that we look for. And it's not really based off of what you're doing now. It's based off of your potential. I really learned how to evaluate from some of the top evaluators that came from Alabama, Colorado, Michigan State, UCLA. I sit down with these guys every single year and I say, what do you look for? And it's interesting. Every few years it shifts. After the Seahawks, Legion of Boom, everyone wanted corners that were 6'2", 6'3". And now they're kind of coming back down. They're like, hey, it's okay if a kid's not that, if they can do this, 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 and this. And then initially when I started this podcast, running backs were at a premium. Now a lot of schools are looking for running backs that can really catch out of the backfield, kind of more of a Mike Leach type of running back, because a lot of schools are running a lot more 10 and 11 personnel. So we have to take that into account. Our school's looking for fullbacks anymore. Even Stanford isn't even looking for fullbacks anymore. So that position is not at a premium. And last year I did big backs and speed backs. Now they're all in a grouping. So you're going to see running backs that can do a little bit of everything. So that's what I like to see. And some of these running backs, I sit there and I think, you know what? Maybe this is a guy that would be better off at slot. This is a guy that projects at this position. So maybe you're not on this list, and that's what's nice about my list. We've got kind of a makeup episode. Where would you be? Well, who did I miss? What did we go? Because I'm as gosh darn close to perfect as you can be, but I'm not quite there yet. So I'm trying my best. The other thing is, when I evaluate a kid, it's only based off varsity film. If you're not the best in your school, I don't think that you deserve to be considered with the best in the state yet. Are there guys that I'm like, you know what? He will be the best in the state this next year? Yes. I think that there's guys that were behind like an Isaac Wilson or stuff like that where you're like, okay, this kid was going for a state record, or this kid was going for a rushing record, or this kid was going for this. And you probably didn't get an opportunity because you were behind a P4 player. That's okay. We're going to get your stuff out there. The other thing that's really interesting with this is this year, if you are the top player, because you've put in so much work, you will get a free 3-month access to recruiting for parents. Because you've done the initial step, let's make sure we help you get to that next level. That's what I'm all about, making sure that people get to the next level and that we help them with that. So now that we have the base rules down, let's go into the list. So let's look at running back specifics, what we're looking for in them. First, ball security, then their blocking ability, then size, quickness, catching ability, route running, leverage, grit, their ability to fill the hole, their ability to break tackles, endurance, and how nasty they are on the field. That's what I'm looking for each of these running backs. I went in, I rated about 25 running backs, looking at what's going on with them, where they land, and where we can put them. Is this the end-all, be-all list? Probably. But with that, know that you guys can move up the list and down the list. I played with a tight end in college his junior year. He was up for All-American. He was a projected second-day draft pick. And then by the end, he didn't put the work in, and he ended up being an undrafted free agent. And with that, he was cut almost immediately because he didn't do what it took to get to the next level. Then I've played with other kids that they came in on as a walk-on. They ended up carving out a successful NFL career, and they beat out all those guys. So this is a starting point going into the season because this year is for you. So let's start with running back number 27. I'm talking about Jett Niu. Jett Niu, 5'7", 145 pounds, out of Milford. Judd is a productive scat back that has a ton of heart. He does a great job on both sides of the ball as well. He's a dude that should have a great senior year. How he's going to shoot up this list is with additional size and speed, and that's what's going to get him to the next level. I really like Judd. So at number 26, we've got Dace Obagi, 5'9", 180 pounds, coming out of Uinta. Dace is a phenomenal scat back. Uinta does a great job finding ways to get the ball in his hands. He was super productive and will continue to dominate this next year. He is a stud. On to number 25, Travis Hoops, 5'9", 170 pounds, coming out of Farmington. He is a great special teams returner. Probably the best in the state, to be honest with you, going into this next year. Incredible change of pace back that has good hands, great drive, and heart. He's a kid that's going to make any team better, so college coaches look out for him. At number 24, we've got Logan Sella, 5'11", 200 pounds, coming out of Roy. Logan is a two-way player that is a solid short yardage back. He's going to get bigger, and with that, he's going to get some offers. He has great effort, great speed, good speed. He's a playmaker that makes Roy just a better school. You don't want to go against this guy and meet him in the hole. At number 23, we've got Dyson Parker. Dyson is 5'9", 170 pounds, coming out of Weber. I finally got his film. Dyson is deceptively fast, ripping off some very long runs. He has good vision, does a great job following his blocks. He can split into slot, and it shows his versatility and his strength. He has soft hands and is quick with the ball. He's an athlete that should dominate this next year as well. At number 22, we've got Will Rasmussen, one of the only running backs with a P4 offer on this list. Just 5'11", 173, the class of 2027. So he's a young gun. He did get some varsity reps last year, and he played very well. He needs to keep getting bigger, but as a sophomore, he's going to dominate. I love that he's a multi-sport athlete. His basketball film is very good, and it shows an explosive first step that translates right into football. He's a kid that already has D1 offers, like I said, but he needs to keep up his production and get a little bit more productive with the ball in his hands. He only had about 200 yards, so that's kind of a knock on him, but it's hard to find more knocks on him because he's gotten bigger, he's gotten faster, and that's the reason he garnered a University of Utah offer at the end of the day. At number 21, we've got Owen Talbot out of Davis, 5'10", 175 pounds. Owen has good size. I watched him live a few times. I like what I saw. He is a great change of pace back at the next level and works perfectly in what Davis is trying to do. Tons of heart, and I think he'll be explosive his senior year. Davis has a great passing attack with Bodie Sparrow, with their quarterback, with everything that's going on, but when you get Owen in there, it's just fun to see what he does. Let's go to Ridgeline for our next running back, Jackson Lindsay, 5'6", 155 pounds, 2025. Change of pace back that has good speed and hands. He's a kid that's tough as nails, and he's going to get you the tough yards. He's splitting the backfield with another running back, and they're returning their two-headed beast this next year. At number 19, we've got Zayden Selu. I was interested because a lot of coaches reached out to me and they're like, we really like Zayden Selu. And I'm like, he didn't get a ton of reps last year. And they're like, we know. We're scared that he's going to get more this next year. Zayden was solid as a change of pace back, and he's a great receiving option. He's going to be a focal point on the offense this next year because they did lose their leading back and their quarterback. Behind the offensive line, I mean, he's going to go for easily 1,000 yards, if not a lot more, because that O-line is no joke at Skyridge, led by one of my favorite coaches in the state. At number 18, we've got Jaden Atkinson out of Grantsville. So Jaden is a farm-strong young man and then some. He has the ability to turn a no gain into big play. He has good hands, and he's a good route runner as well. He dominates against better competition. As he dominates against better competition, he's going to shoot up the boards. Just a fun kid to watch. At number 17, we've got Tyson Ferry, 5'8", 185 pounds, coming out of Stansbury. Well-built back with good vision. He gets to the second level with ease. He's got good hands. He's a great safety valve. And as he goes into the next season, he's going to turn the first downs that he was getting into touchdowns. We just need to see a few more explosive plays from him. At number 16, let's go back up north to Ridgeline. JT White, 5'10", 180 pounds. JT is the part of the 1-2 punch, and JT is a baller. Little bigger than Jackson, and he brings the thunder to the lightning. Great speed, good vision. He plays better when the stage is bigger. He has good hands and is quick in small spaces. The first guy never takes him down, and he keeps building and getting better and better and better. Just a fun kid to watch, to be honest with you. And I'm excited to see what he does this next year. Let's get to number 15. Number 15 is Trevor Haleo out of Layton Christian Academy. I love running backs that run behind their pads. He has vision. He allows blocks to develop. And Trevor does all that in a bag of chips. He isn't playing the best competition, but he raises the playing of those around him. He is a stud, and I was amazed at what he did last year, and this year should be even better. At number 14, we've got Lote Soteele, 6 foot, 200 pounds, coming out of Hunter. Lote was a highlight for Hunter last year. He will be a monster this year. Great vision. He's quick between the tackles. He's a dude that will impose his will on linebackers. He has good, not great speed. His senior year, he's going to be special, and he's going to be higher at the end of the season. And I'm excited to see what Lote does. We'll see exactly where he's playing and what he's doing as well. So at 13, we've got Bronson Dixon. Bronson Dixon, 6 foot, 190 pounds, coming out of Summit Academy. Some of these lower level running backs are phenomenal. He's one of the state's hidden gems coming out of Bluffdale. 1,300 yards and 19 touchdowns, very solid. He has good vision and a nice burst. He does a good job in pass pro and is a receiving threat in the pass game. He doesn't have the speed to thrive outside of the tackles, and I want to see him against top competition, but he's a dude that should get 2,000 yards this next year, and he's going to make a college coach very happy at the end of the day. At number 12, we've got Caden Close to the Chest Vest. 5'9", 190 pounds, coming out of Spanish Fork. Spanish Fork has a great O-line this next year, and Caden is a load. He's a cannonball exploding into the line. He's quick, has good vision, one cut and up back, getting as many yards as possible on every opportunity. He doesn't have the breakaway speed that you look for, but every other part of his game is there. As he gets faster, more coaches will be coming down to Spanish Fork, not just for a tackle, but for a running back as well. At number 11, I've got Mason Hartel, 6'1", 210 pounds, out of Brighton. Are you looking for a big bruiser behind an O-line that almost everyone is returning in a program that's yearning for a title? I have to hear about Brighton all the time. My brother-in-law went there. Then I have the back for you. Mason is a big back, good speed, and mainly he was blocking last year in a pass-heavy offense. Their quarterback, he was going to Georgetown, but last year is not this year. He's light on his feet and has a nose for the end zone and enough speed to make you think twice about the angle you're taking. I predict this year his first downs will turn into touchdowns, and Satara might be taking his team to the turf at the end of the year. At number 10, we've got Dexton Vaea, 5'11", 180 pounds, coming out of Mountain View. Dexton was the most productive sophomore last year. For sure, one of the top running backs in the state. He was a highlight reel for Mountain View. He has the speed to get to the edge and solid vision as well. He is a great receiving threat. I can't wait to see what he does this next year. At number 9, we've got Teki Finau at Bingham, 6'1", 220 pounds. Woo, that's a big boy. Bingham just got a Harvey Longy-esque running back, and I think Bingham might be back with him in the backfield. He has good speed, can throw the ball well. He was playing running back at Kearns, or quarterback at Kearns. His speed is great, and he has put on a ton of weight this offseason as well. So stoked to watch him this next year is an understatement. I'll be at a few Bingham games. At number 8, we've got Nacio Okukolu. Sorry about that. Coming out of East, we can't have a running back list without East. As long as Brandon Maddich is there will be a running back on this list. There's 2 things I know, ladies and gentlemen. I know that the sun will come up tomorrow because my niece is in Annie and she has let me know. And the second thing I know on this earth is that East will have an incredible running back. Nacio has had incredible speed, vision. He's great at returning kicks. He has the speed to end up in the end zone before you blink. He was phenomenal as a junior and even split out and played slot. You're like, oh, what's East doing here? They're going in shotgun and he's in slot and he is tough. I can't wait to see how he's utilized this next year and what goes down. At number 7, let's go down south. We've got a state champ. We're talking about McCord Christian, 5'10", 190 pounds. And this is how competitive this list is. McCord, 19 touchdowns, 1,500 total yards is redonkulous. The state champ was good as a junior. I can't wait to see what he does as a senior because he was doing this with a pass-heavy O, and he will be the focal point of this offense, and he's going to dominate. He may be the smartest player on the field as well. Every Ivy League I've found your running back, go get him because he is an absolute stud. At number 6, we're going to go to Desert Hills. We're going to go see a Mason because we need to get everything done. I'm talking about Titan Mason, 5'10", 200 pounds, little bit bigger than McCord, but just as productive, if not more. He had over 2,000 yards. My goodness, honestly, Titan was that. He was a Titan among men at Desert Hills. He dominated. He was the leading running back for his class. He did everything. He had over 20 touchdowns. He was an absolute dog. When you look at the film, you're like, oh my goodness, Desert Hills is a special place with a special young man playing running back. I can't wait to see what Titan does this next year and how he's going to be utilized. He is an absolute stud. He is going to get some great things done. Let's get to the top 5. Honestly, the top 7, top 8, I'm just like, these are all absolute dudes. And I talked to a plethora of different people. Some of them said, hey, can you move 7 to 1? Can you move 6 to 2? Can you move 5 to 3? And I'm like, I don't know. I put all these guys through my algorithm, and at the end of the day, the algorithm knows best. And this is where they ended up. Will it be where they're at the end of the season? I don't know. Am I going to get some hateful messages? Probably. Am I okay with it? Absolutely. Let's freaking go with number 5. We've got a new Timpview running back, Cuevas Gregory. He played in Hawaii. He played at Granger. He played at Cedar Valley last year. Now he's at Timpview. He's been just about everywhere. The 5'10", 195-pound young man, elite at protecting the ball with 1 fumble on the season. He has been to a few schools already and was a highlight for Cedar Valley this last year. He is great between the tackles, able to rip off long runs, no problem. He has good vision and finds the open hole quickly. He fights for every yard. His balance is elite. Timpview got a steal with this dude, and I can't wait to see what he does last year. He already has an offer to Army. I expect Air Force, Navy, and all of the other schools to hop in real quick with Cuevas. At number 4, we've got a surprise running back, 6'2", 225 pounds. That's no surprise. Coming out of American Leadership Academy, we're talking about Cannon Huntsman. And you put on the film, you're like, hey, Moose, you can't have someone from ALA this high. I beg to differ. He has the size, and he was insanely productive with 24 total touchdowns, focal point of the whole team last year, and I expect him to dominate those numbers this next year. He's a kid that could play either side of the ball at the next level, has incredible size, and isn't even done growing. Don't sell him short because he's at a lower level. This is a kid that could dominate from Corner Canyon to Bishop Gorman. He's a freaking cheat code. His breakaway speed and soft hands is a beautiful thing, and he's a kid that looks like he's just having fun out there. He can return kicks, and he looks like he's in fast motion when everyone is in slow motion. He's a kid that's a D1 kid that some school is going to be stoked to get. Is he going to have a little bit tougher time getting into the D1? Yes, but he has the size, he has the speed, he has everything you look for, whether you want him to play on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. At number 3, this is where it gets a little controversial. I've seen other lists that have this kid at 1. I've seen other lists that have this kid at 5. I've got him at 3. It is Devon Eka, 5'11", 182 pounds, coming out of Lehigh. Lehigh has reloaded this year, rebuilt, and ready to go. The phenom freshman didn't see much of a sophomore slump at all. He's like a fine wine, and this year, he's just going to get better. His burst is special. He had incredible speed, and he's growing into his body. He has incredible room for growth, great hands, and he's forcing a pass-happy offense and a pass-happy coach to run the ball. This kid is special, and teams will start offering soon. What he did last year was special. What our number 2 running back did was outright phenomenal. Coming from another team that's pass-happy, I'm talking about Brighton Brady, kind of a futuristic running back at this point. In previous years, he may not be this high, but he really is the most explosive running back in the state, probably the fastest on this list. Corner Canyon is known as a passing team, but Brighton's speed and elusiveness is changing Kerr's mind one carry at the time. He's like Houdini. Here he is, there he isn't. At first he's in the backfield, and then ta-da, he's in the end zone. He just scored again. The semifinals last year, he had 7 touchdowns he scored on the ground and in the air. If he's in the open field, you're not catching him. I'm just letting you know right now. All you guys that think you run a 4.4, you don't. This kid does, though. He can go between the tackles as well. He can block you, and that's what stood out to me in his game, his blocking ability. Or if you think he's going to block you, he may just shuffle out into the flats, take a screen, and next thing you know, ta-da, he is in the end zone. So our modern-day Houdini is the dream 10 personnel running back. His size is the only thing holding him back from being the number 1 kid, but I love this kid's game, and as he gets bigger, he's going to shoot up the list as well. That means we only have 1 person left. This person, I was not quite a believer, to be honest with you guys. I went and saw him at the Granger game, and I was like, Granger's going to win. They've got all this D1 talent. And I'm like, I do like Falutau Satawala, but I don't see a 2 to the 1-2 punch going on with Falutau. And then all of a sudden, this running back out of nowhere, wearing shoes, multiple sizes, too big, came onto the field, and I'm like, is that Siaki Katoa? Do I have to learn his name? Do I have to memorize it? Yes, I do, because the 5'8", 190-pound running back is a complete back, and I cannot wait to see what he does this next year, because he is going to absolutely dominate. Honestly, like I said, I became a fan of him. You go watch the film and you tell me he's not the best player on the field. With D1 talent everywhere and All-Americans, he's the one that stand out. His breakaway speed is ridiculous. When he got shoes that fit him in the playoffs, he was even that more special. It's like getting Bo Jackson type stories following him at this point because he is that talented. Throughout the whole season, he ran scout team instead of going with the ones because he wanted a challenge every single practice. He's a kid that is just built tough. He's like a Ford. He is just built Siaki Katoa tough. And when you line up against this kid, you better be ready for a long night and bring your big boy pads because it is going to be a game. Last year, the scary thing is he was a sophomore. This 26 class is good, and this kid was as productive as you can be, and they utilized his talents, and I thought he was the best player in the field, even in the state championship game with Falutau Satawala, who I freaking love. you saw a different kid. Those two led Bountiful to the state championship game because I didn't have them going to the state title game. You didn't have them going to the state title game, but they did that and more, and they brought some pride back to north of Salt Lake to little old Bountiful. Even though they did fall short, when you have this running back, Siaki Fekitoa, in the backfield, it will change everything for you. So that's our list right now, and that's what's great because it can change. There's going to be things that happen, and there's some kids that I'm going to move to different positions, to be honest with you, that I'm like, you know what, this kid's not a running back, and I'm going to have him here. I'm going to have him there. But right before the season, I'm going to have a makeup episode, and there's going to be some kids that weren't here at running back that will be. There were kids that I looked for film that I couldn't find. So some of the kids that I looked for film at running back that I couldn't find, we've got guys like Tate Allred, Oliver Collins, Fernando Cortez, AJ Danmore, Roman Funk, Britton Jepson, David Keel out of Payson, Connor Kessler. We've got Easton Kiorma, Tania Latai, Kaya Medzu, and Britton Roser, Yuma Tai. Guys like that where I'm like, okay, I know these guys are good. I want to find film on them. So those are guys that I'll be looking at that hopefully we get a little makeup episode and I'll look for their film and all that. So you guys make sure you nominate the running backs, whatever position we have that week. We'll go over them. And what you guys got to realize is I'm connected to a lot of college coaches. So when I put these lists out, they take note of it. They look at it. They watch your film. They look at your personality. They look at what you're doing on social media, everything, so that we can go over it. I really wanted to go and let's do this. I'm going to throw a running back on here that's been there, done that, so you guys can understand what it takes, because I know what it takes as a kicker. I know what it takes as a punter and a snapper. I've even recruited those guys. I've got All-Americans. I've done it and then some. But what does it take for running back? Let's get someone on the line that can tell you that right now. The champ is indeed here, one of the top running backs ever to grace the beautiful state of Utah. He played at BYU. He committed to Oregon State, and he finds himself as one of my next door neighbors. We're talking about the one, the only Lopini Katoa. Lopini, how you doing on this beautiful day?
I'm doing great, bro. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so stoked that I was able to coax you out of your dwelling like I was coaxed out of mine. I felt like a hibernating moose going into the season, and I was like, got to get Lopini on the podcast and see what does it take to be a top running back in this state.
Whew. Where do I start? Oh, man. I think the state of Utah, first of all, at the time when I was playing and back when you were playing, had so much underrated talent, first and foremost. And now it seems like it's trending in a way where we're more on the map. So that is a huge advantage, at least to be seen. Like you can do all the work that you want, but you not be seen. But now that's not the case anymore. You don't really have to worry about that too much in Utah. So first and foremost, there's eyes on Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say to be a top running back in the state, man, there's layers to that question. How do you want me to break that down, man?
So there's a couple ways that I could see it. Like, first, physically, what does it take? And then what mentality do you have to have? Because some of these running backs, I'm like, you're not the most physically imposing person. And then I see them take on these linebackers that are like 50 pounds heavier than them, give them a LaDainian Tomlinson stiff arm, and you're like, oh my goodness gracious, that man is an absolute dog. And I've seen that from you a time or two when I was playing against you. And then when I saw you at BYU, I'm like, he shouldn't make that catch. And then all of a sudden, you're parallel to the ground, and the ball's resting in your arms like a beautiful egg to a mother hen. So how do you do all of that, Peony?
Okay, yeah. So to be able to, let's say, first of all, the mindset of a running back is the same mindset that a linebacker has on defense, right? They're head hunting. They're the ones trying to set the tone for their defense. They're kind of their quarterback, right? So obviously we have our quarterback. He handles the structure. He handles the making sure everything looks right, telling people if they're out of place. But the running back needs to be that guy that is going to set the tone, right? And be the guy that, regardless of what he's doing, blocking, running, catching, he's going to make his presence be felt. Whether you juke somebody out of their socks or lower your shoulder, run through somebody for extra 5-10 yards. Those things were just part of the job description that is just a given. Right? If you don't really have that edge, then it's you're not going to be able to have your presence be felt and swing that momentum for your teammates. So I'd say just having everybody knows that nasty linebacker mentality, right? And that's kind of what the same mentality a running back needs to have. You don't have to be, rah-rah, yelling out and stuff. I definitely wasn't that type of player. I try to be the one to do it just with my pads, right? So I'd say, first of all, having that mentality, and then skill set wise, in my opinion, well, here's the thing. At running back, you can get it done with a lot of different type of skill sets and a lot of different type of body, frames and heights, weight. You see it all over the, there's a huge scale at what you can be to be an elite running back. You see your 6'3", 6'2", 6'1" running backs who are tall, long strides, hard to tackle just because they're huge. Then you have the short, shifty guys, super strong, hard to tackle because their center of gravity is so low. So that's a good thing. I'd say if you're like, I don't know where my body fits in. Okay, if you're strong and you got some speed on you, you can learn how to play running back because there's a lot of different bodies types that are playing at the highest level.
I love that because I talk to linemen all the time because in my head I'm about 6'6", 300, and in all reality I'm not quite there. But the way you're explaining it, linemen are kind of like mathematicians. You need to be this tall, you need to do this.
Right.
But running backs, it sounds like, are almost like Picassos, where you're like, we've got a paintbrush, we can figure it out. It might not look great, but everyone's going to value it at some different way. And I see that's how it kind of is. We've got a traditional running back like Eka from Lehigh, and then we've got a different type of running back when you go to Corner Canyon, and you're like Brighton Brady. He's not as big, but he's putting up 7 touchdowns. And then you've got your traditional all-around back in Siaki Katoa over there at Bountiful, where you're just like, okay, you're a little bit of mix of everything. Not the biggest, but you're a bruiser as well. And then you've got your traditional bruiser in like Cannon Huntsman, where he's like 6'2", 225, and you're like, I do not want to see you in the hole. So there's so many different types of running backs, and that's what makes rating running backs difficult at this day and age, because you're like, what does a college look for in a running back? What were you asked to do in college that was a little different than what you were asked to do in high school?
I would say one of the biggest things, and honestly, what I feel like was a credit to me being able to get on the field early in my career in college, was being able to do everything. Do everything at a high level. And I say everything, I mean running, blocking, and catching. An offensive coordinator doesn't want to sit there and say, which running back's on the field, which play can I call? You get what I'm saying? I know offensive coordinator. They might have certain personnels where they're like, okay, this play is a little bit more successful if this running back is on the field because he can do X, Y, Z better than the other running back. But if there's a running back that's on the field that they don't have to worry about if they know their assignment, they don't have to worry about if they can pick up a linebacker coming down the A gap hot. They don't have to worry about if they can check a swing, catch it and get a first down. Like, they don't have to worry at all. Like, I that's kind of like what, and as I'm training running backs, as I'm working with running backs, I try to help them as best I can develop that full all-around skill set. because there's a lot of things that we can control in that. We can't control our body types, right? But we can control our, learning how to correctly pick up a block or a pass rush. We can learn how to, track a ball and catch it better. We can learn how to, read the holes, hit it. So, in my opinion, I just think the biggest thing that separates them is like, okay, you can't get away with being average at picking up a pass block anymore. You can't get away with using the skills that you're the best at. You might excel at running the ball inside zone. You might excel at running the ball outside zone a little bit better. But the things that you're not as good at are going to be exposed when you go to the next level, and it's going to hurt your time to be on the field. So you got to close the gap. Whatever you're great at, bring all those other skills up to that level.
I love that because I love the 3 skills that you highlighted: catching, running the ball, and blocking. That third one, to me, is what makes the difference between running backs at this point. And even in high school, the bleeding down, there's a lot of schools that are running 10 personnel. And if your running back can't read a block, understand the scheme, and then pick up the right guy, your quarterback's dead, and then all of a sudden, your whole team dynamics has changed. I mean, that's what makes the difference between a good and a great running back in my mind. And I love running backs that are just pricks, that you're just like, oh my gosh. That, like, the play that really illuminates in my mind, I think it was the Ravens playing the Chargers, and I think it was the Chargers had some little tiny running back. It was like Darren Sproles or Michael Turner, some dude that was under 5'10", and they took on like Ray Lewis and just lit him up. And I'm like, oh no. And that is a bigger highlight for me when I evaluate film than someone ripping off like 100-yard run, where I'm like, okay, cool, you can do that. But what do you do when someone's coming through the A gap? What do you do when the game's on the line and the quarterback needs to get a pass off? Because there's so many teams that are spread out now. I would love to have Houston Heimuli in front of me. I would love to have Lorenzo Neal in front of me, but that's not quite a reality anymore. Usually it's some tight end that's like, I'm 6'2" and I can't really run. And you're like, oh crap, let's go. And you're just praying that guy puts his nose in between the numbers of the guy he needs to block. But with you were able to experience everything. What has football taught you, and from being a running back to being a football player, that you apply to your life now?
Oh man, football, along with some other things in life, are basically, definitely shaped who I am today. I'd say just at a young age, just growing up in a family that, loved football. My dad played football. My older brother played football. It was just kind of something we fell in line with, right? And so I didn't realize how much it was changing me until I realized, until I go out into the world and say, how much different I am than your average person, as far as work ethic, as far as being able to work with a team, be coachable, what else? The list goes on and on, man. To develop, long lasting relationships where you trust the guy or trust the people around you to execute their job, and they're trusting you. It is a special sport if you respect the game for what it is, right? Two people can play football their whole entire lives and walk away two different people because they didn't approach the game like it's meant to be approached. So I would say respect the game. I mean, every head coach should, I won't say every, because there's I don't know how some people get, head coaching jobs with some of the culture they promote. But I'll say the majority of head coaches out there are going to promote the right football culture, and for kids to be able to get the most out of the sport they're sacrificing for every single day, right? You're going to be playing it every day. You might as well get the most out of it. And to me, to get the most out of it for your life is to respect the game for what it is, right? Do everything right. Do everything your coaches are telling you to do.
I love that. Do everything right. Do everything your coaches are telling you to do. You can't really go rogue at running back and be like, we had one running back in high school that he'd try to bounce every single thing. It would be like a dive. And he's like, I just watched Reggie Bush highlights, and this is what he did. And I'm like, bro, you're never going to see the field. And he's like,
Yeah.
bet I'm 6'3", 220. And I'm like, you're 6'3", 220 behind is going to be playing D-end. And our senior year, he was playing D-end. And he's like, I run a 4-4. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you run a 3-4. Hit the right hole. And I think that's a big microcosm of everything that happens, where it's like, okay, you've got to do the right thing. And if you go 100% in the right way, even if the result doesn't turn out the right way, you're going to end up in a better situation. I mean, I had another teammate. He started 17 businesses, and on the 18th business, he ended up selling it for tens of millions of dollars. And
Wow.
he was doing everything the right way, figuring it out, but he realized that he's like, okay, I need to adjust. I need to make sure I'm doing everything right. And if I do it the right way, good things will happen. It didn't happen the first 17 times, but the 18th time it did. Another interesting thing
Absolutely.
that a lot of kids that are going to be hitting, you took over, I think you took over for Cade Zarbach. Is that right?
Cade Zarbach. Wow. Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a minute. But I was like maybe two years after him.
Oh, dang it. I was
Yeah.
going to do a great question about taking over for a legend because I love Cade Zarbach. But you had other legends
it was
like
one running back. There was one running back in between us.
okay, we
at a
don't
time.
even count him. He doesn't count. But what was it like taking over for like Jamal then, where Jamal was at BYU before you, and then there was an expectation of running backs with Jamal and Algie Brown, where you came in. What was it like taking over that room?
Yeah, something I like. I know I watched Jamal obviously, and I watched just these legendary running backs. I mean, you can take it all the way back to like just the culture of running backs when Harv was playing, when Fui was playing, Fahu, like all of these big names, and for me, I take that as like I love that because there's an expectation of greatness, but just like I described, there was a lot of different styles of running backs in the names I just listed. And so my biggest thing was I'm not trying to mimic Jamal. I'm going to take from his game what applies to my game, but I want to be a game changer and be a playmaker like them. And so my biggest thing was, okay, there's this level of greatness. Now do what you do. Don't try to be somebody else. Do what you do at a high level to mimic that level of greatness. And for us, most of the time I was there, it was running back by committee. So it was kind of we had to have like a culture of greatness. Like, hey, we're gonna lean on each other. Like we're gonna give it all, empty the tank. Next guy's gonna come in, pick up, carry the baton. Next guy's gonna come in, pick up, not miss a beat. So I think that those running backs setting the standard is like very crucial, and it's also something you could look at as a high school athlete. Like, where do I want to take my talents? Okay, where is there a culture of greatness at your position at the next level? Because that will be your expectation, and you either rise to the occasion or you don't, right?
I love that. It reminds me of one of my teammates. His name was Squally Canada. And Squally was really funny because he ended up transferring to BYU from Washington State, and he was playing for Mike Leach. And he was the second string running back, but he didn't even travel. And he was like, he's like, I don't know what's going on. They said they were going to run the ball with me here, and I'm not even on the travel team, and I'm a 4-star running back. And I'm like, Squall, you went to Washington State. Mike Leach hasn't ran the ball more than like 10 times in his life. What are you doing? And he's like, but I like Mike
Right.
Leach. And I'm like, I like Mike Leach too. But if his whole philosophy was, I'm not going to kick, I probably wouldn't go there no matter how much I like the guy. And so I think that's
For
very
sure.
sage advice to talk about. Go where you know what the culture is, one, and what the expectations are, two. Because when you do that, I've seen kids that even in high school where they go to programs where they can be super successful, choosing in ninth grade, be like, hey, this coach wants to do this, 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 and this, and that's how I'm going to get on the field. That's how I'm going to be successful, and I've seen other people do it before me. And it's really interesting to watch with that. So with you, you had an incredible football career. You're an incredible dude. What has it been like not having football in your life for the last little bit?
So it's definitely like all those things that your coaches say that go in one ear and out the other for your whole career, where they're like, enjoy it, guys, soak it in. It's going to be gone one day. Like, you'll never get this back. Those coaches are like, I'll do anything to put the helmet on one more time. Something that you're like, okay, you're corny, whatever. Like, let's just go into the locker room. Like, it hits you though. At varying levels, you're like, wow, yeah, that's the reality of not being able to put the helmet on, not feel that accomplished feeling after like a long day of fall camp and being in the locker room chilling with your boys. Like, those are gone, right? But it's just life, right? Things come and go, and so I try to just remember the good, and that's something that's I feel like is nice. Is like football was like super difficult at times, just mentally and physically. But after you put in your best effort, when you step away from the game, a lot of like it's hard to remember the bad things that went on. My mind is just kind of, I don't know if I've just subconsciously blocked the bad out, but I just completely took away the good. So when I reflect on football, it's like it's a good thing. I know it's never going to come back, and I'm able to scratch that itch by sharing my knowledge with the next generation. So I don't feel like I'm completely out of football now, because I'm training running backs personally, and then I am coaching at American Fork High School too, the running backs at American Fork. So kind of full circle type of thing, and don't feel like I'm completely removed from the game. So maybe that's helping me not feel like as like not missing the game as much like being in the past, because I'm out there on the field every day. But yeah, it's funny. Like I said, those coaches that keep saying the same thing after practice is over, and you feel like they're just holding you there. Like they're actually, there's some value to that, right? When it's gone, it's gone. So you gotta give it all you can.
I think that's so funny because it's absolutely true. The farther away from the game you are, you're like, man, that was really cool. What a delightful experience. For me, I always laugh. After I blew my knee out at snow, I was coaching at BYU, and I had about probably 8 coaches approach me asking me to go kick again. And I was like, no. I don't have my life controlled by football for once. And I was still coaching, but I'm like, I need a break.
yeah, for sure.
And so it was just that initial like weight off your shoulders, relaxing for the first time in your life, where I was like, okay, now I can look back and be like, maybe I should have done it. But in all reality, I'm like, nah, I didn't have it in me. So
Right.
I'm glad you have that healthy thing. I'm glad you're coaching at American Fork with Riker Matthews, another friend of the show.
Oh yeah.
Riker's one of my favorite punters of all time, and he is the best looking punter of all time as well. But with that,
Absolutely.
AF is in great hands with you and Riker there and all the wonderful people over there. How do people get a hold of you if they want to get some running back training? Because I'm fired up now. I think I can be a running back. Maybe I'll come to a session or two and see what we can get done.
Oh yeah, bro. I'm confident you can get it done. I just like off my Instagram. I have an Instagram page for it. I have Facebook page, but it's Lopini. Like if you just go to my Instagram, Lopini Katoa, in the bio, you'll see my training is called Every Down Back. Basically, based off of what I described, what I think it takes to be a great running back at the next level, you have to be reliable on every play. So that's the philosophy of my training. Just training a whole skill set. So let me know. We are working.
Go
What's
ahead.
up? Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good. Sorry.
Oh no, I say we're out working almost every day, group sessions or private sessions. So you can easily get somebody on the calendar.
Perfect. Every single day. See, that's a dedicated man right there. My training is once a week on Saturday for 1 hour. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. That's great. But Lopini is grinding every single day. And if you guys, can you spell out your name? Because there's a lot of people.
I got you. Yeah. It's if you go to my at is LOPINI and then the number 4. The full name is Lopini Katoa, LOPINI KATOA. So
Okay, Lopini
I'm there.
Katoa. I can say it. I know you go way back, even to when you were Taylor at one point, I think, where I was like, nah, you don't need that. Stick with Lopini. And it's just great to have you on. Great to see your success. I'm sure you're going to get a bunch of running backs reaching out to you so they can go dominate, and I'm excited to see what American Fork does. I appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
Thanks, Moose. Appreciate you, bro. I'll see you down the road.
I'll see you on the road, too, walking
Literally.
my dogs and running a 5K every other day. Maybe I can get you out to do that with me.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you too. Well, that's it for us at the Utah Preps Podcast. Thank you so much. We'll be rating, I believe, safeties next week. Have a safety on. We'll see what we can do. But this is Moose Bingham with the Utah Preps Podcast.
A game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. What time is it?
What's that? Playoffs? What are you talking about? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.